So today has been a case of being reassured and enthused about employee ownership. So reassured from the likes of Ken Shuttleworth and from Wen, who's from Ted Cullinan. So practices that have been at this for a long time, that it's still alive, that it still endures, and it's not a business model that fades. So it's been great to hear about their stories, and then from some other practices where they've just become employee owned, and hearing about the challenges that they've got. I've been really reassured that you just can't get it right first time, that you can't expect to have a model that is going to work like clockwork, because you've got a bunch of people, it's a new thing, and so I've been very reassured that they've tried some things that haven't worked so well, but tried things that are also working well, and I've learned a lot. So we had a management team meeting, and the managers were asked what has changed. What has changed since becoming employee owned in March? And one of the first things that they said was certainty. They felt really good about the fact that they knew what was going to happen. Because what they didn't know before we became employee owned was what was going to happen when Pete and I retired. So that in itself was a great reassurance for them. And then the second thing was the possibility of having a say in the business, or the opportunity to have a say in the business in the future. And so those two are the key advantages. From our point of view, we wanted to make sure that we passed on a legacy. And our legacy is three things: values-led culture, innovation, and long-term sustainability. So employee ownership was really the only way we could achieve that. So I feel that it's been a great learning experience, but it's also, I feel good about the future. And the alternative would have been perhaps to have a trade sale where we would have lost that legacy, or we could have an MBO, which in many cases doesn't work out. So this was really the best alternative for us. Good communication. It was really important. I heard the word choreographed at the Employee Ownership Association, that you have to choreograph the transition into employee ownership, and I took that very seriously. So we got our ducks lined up, and so we had to make sure that the communication was good. But on the other side, we have to be very careful about expectations. So our expectations are higher now. And so, for example, one of the things that came out of an opinion that was raised was, why didn't we communicate the fact that the Board of Trustees didn't have co-owners until will be October? And why was there a Board of Trustees meeting before we had co-owner trustees on that board? So again, those expectations are up there, which is great, but it's what I have to get into my head is listening more and more and more. Because if I don't do that, then people will be disappointed, and it won't work as well as it might. Great. It was, I know this EO space is very much one of sharing, and and what's really refreshing is that people tell others about the not so good stuff. Now in business, I come obviously from the business world, people don't tend to do that as much. They tend to just talk about the good stuff, but here it's like warts and all, and this didn't work so well, and this is why, and this is what we've done about it. And I think that that sense of feeling that you don't have to put on a show, you can be honest and more and share more about what challenges you have, is really refreshing.